Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the September 8th Sustainability Working Group meeting. I'd like to start off with the territorial acknowledgement. Sorry. Leslie? Sorry.
It's okay. We have gathered in Wilmot Township on the traditional territory of the Neutral Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and Mississauga peoples. We also want to acknowledge the importance of the Dish with One Spoon Covenant, a peace agreement made between Indigenous nations before the Europeans arrived. It characterizes our collective responsibility to each other and Mother Earth. We should take only what we need, leave enough for others, and keep the dish clean. By acknowledging this covenant in the First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples, we are reminded of our important connection to this land where we live, learn, and work together as a community.
Thank you, Leslie. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act? Seeing none. The review of previous meeting minutes. Are there any issues with the minutes from the previous meeting? All right, seeing none, can I have someone move that? Moved by Dean, second by Tova. All in favor? That's carried. Okay, so we'll go on to the first item on the agenda, the Sustainability Working Group annual reports to Council. So I did the report was approved this morning, and I did circulate it to the committee. Sorry for the last minute notice, but I know they're getting the agenda package ready for today. So, so if there's any questions on the report, I know it's probably a quick turnaround, but if there are any, just feel free to shoot me an email afterwards. But that report will coincide with Tova's annual presentation to Council as we have historically. Any questions on that? Okay. All right. So we'll move on to new business. There's one agenda item there already, the suggestions for the new committee term, and I did forget to include Zero Waste Month. So we can certainly either include that in the part of the conversation, or we'll separate those out. But maybe we'll start with Zero Waste Month now, since it's next month, and then we'll talk about the future items afterwards. So I'm not sure if Leslie, if you have anything that you can update us on so far, and then we can open up discussion from there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm assuming the reason why we do Zero Waste Month in October is because of Reap Green Solutions. So their Zero Waste Challenge for the month is the Mason Jar Challenge. This year they are doing 3 different challenges. They're doing a 7-day challenge, a 14-day challenge, and a 30-day challenge. And that is where you fill all the waste that is destined, all your waste is destined for landfill in a 1 liter mason jar. So the dates for those, if you'd like to follow their dates, I know it might be a little bit tricky for some. October 17th to 23rd is the 7-day. October 17th to 30th is the 14th, and then the 30 days all of October except for the 31st. So I think we were going to have offline chats with some people about how to go about this particular, what we're going to do for this month. And I haven't had that chat yet. I thought I could have had a little bit more time for October. Other ideas that I had was to do a zero waste habit tracker. So the idea being that you would choose 2 to 3 sustainable swaps, and then you would track them on the days for like 30 days. At least it makes it a little more personal for some people, because for some, I think that doing the 1 liter mason jar might be a little bit much. The idea here is that we're not trying to do everything perfectly. We're just trying to educate people. I liked, there was one I just found the other day, which was like a choose your own adventure. So you would choose an issue that you would like to focus on. So food, energy, transportation, and waste. And then you would choose your approach, and you would use like refuse, reduce, reuse, recycle, and rot. And then you would state your pledge. So basically what you're going to basically do some research on the issue that you have and the approach that you're using, and then you would share it on social media and track your progress. I thought that was a pretty interesting take on a zero waste month. What else? Trash audit. That could be another way of maybe if we could try to do, like, I know the election happening, it's possible that we could start the month with a trash audit, and the idea being you look at your trash for the day, a couple days, a week, and then you lay it all on a flat surface, you take a picture of it, and you choose 1, 2, or 3 swaps, or like what do they use, the word that they used, you have to research and find a solution to eliminate it in the future, and then you share it on social media, or with whoever. That's basically it for right now. Does anybody have any comments, questions, concerns? Dean.
Leslie, is the information that you've described, is that available on the REAP Green Solutions website, or where can people go to get more of that?
Yeah, so the Zero Waste Challenge is on REAP's website, which is reapgreen.ca/ZWC for Zero Waste Challenge. It's there that you would actually do your sign up with them. So I've already signed up for myself and my family. And I'm assuming they send you some information on how to go about the week, whatever challenge you've decided. So it's all there on their website. Yeah. The other things I've just kind of found over the internet, and I can share in the meeting minutes where I found it.
Yeah, be great.
Cool. John.
You'd mentioned about putting it on social media, I guess, as far as ideas that people are going to be doing. How would we go about that? Because it's almost like you have to have a pinned post or something like that, right? Like you want to try to engage people, obviously, as much as possible. I guess, do we have a strategy behind that, I guess, is my question.
Yeah, so I'm not a social media guru, even though I grew up with it, but I'm sure we can, I think it's talk to Dana about how that could go, how we go about that. But I typically, what I understand is you would just create like a hashtag or whatever that would be related to, Wilmot Zero Waste Month, or I know Dana, where you have some fancy way of of creating them or whatever. But that's, I'd say, how you go about it, and then it would be on like Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, or wherever, whatever the kids are using these days. Jen.
Yeah, I love all of it. I think another way, like with the hashtag for sure, and ensuring that we sort of post something or have posts ready to go for every, like maybe twice a week, that bring, some further point about it, so that hashtag is readily visible to people, and it keeps it sort of, popping up at the top of people's feeds. And yeah, with the election, obviously it's a little challenging. We can't run, I normally challenge the rest of council to a month-long Mason Jar challenge. Haven't had so many takers, but hey, it's a conversation. So I will do that I'll do a 1-week challenge to the rest of council, because we have a meeting September 26th and then October 8th. So that will be a week, and then I'll challenge all of council to join me and participating in that Mason Jar challenge for that week. I think it's a does our participating in that change the world? No, but it certainly raises awareness and starts people talking about it. And I think it's really, I really like the ones that you're talking about, where we're saying, look at what you're doing and replace one thing, find a solution to this one piece of garbage. How can you remove it from your stream of life?
Yeah, and I think it's because typically what we do is we just shove it in a recycle bin or a garbage, and then we don't see it ever again, right? So if you take the opportunity to actually look at it and then see like, oh wow, I actually, you know, have 5 Tim Hortons cups. I think maybe I should probably go to reusable. You know, if you're understanding your what your habits are, then you can make a sustainable swap, hopefully. Yeah, Tova.
I actually really like that one too. And the cool thing is if you ask people to post them on social media using the hashtag, we could actually just aggregate them all into a document that then we share, saying, here's all the stuff that we learned, here's all the swaps that are there. So it's not just awareness, but it actually builds and builds and builds. And then you can have it as a resource to community members. And you could say who it was, like use their name on social media, give them credit. And like, it's kind of a cool longer term engagement. So I really like that one too. And it's different. We're not trying to do what REAP is doing. We're trying to be supportive of and integrate, braid together with what they're doing, which is really great.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that I have like what I like is that seeing progress. So like you do it at the beginning of the month and then you do it at the end. Right. And you say like, look, I only have maybe one, you know, cup because someone brought it to me, you know, and I was supposed to refuse it, but, you know, it just, then you can see where, how you started and where you ended up. And then hopefully after the 30 days, you know, 21 days to make a habit, you have made that change. So really like that. John.
So to Jen, in all fairness, Jen, you got to give the rest of us and the rest of council a little bit of a head start because we don't have the luxury of going out to the field and getting our vegetables. The rest of us have to go to the grocery store and sometimes there's packaging. Just a thought.
Sorry, I just need to rebut that. There are zero waste options. There are zero waste options for your produce. You don't have to have packaging with it.
I'm super cheeky at the grocery store. If something's in a bag and it doesn't need to be, I take it off and leave it on top of the pile of the other ones just to tell the grocery store, stop buying the ones with the plastic on top. So just flip the little bag off the celery and leave it on top of the celery. There you go. I don't need that.
My biggest pet peeve is the packaged mushrooms, like
Yeah.
with
Yes.
the paper bag. You know?
Or the cucumbers. Why do they always have it on there? I don't understand.
Yeah.
Oh, you never. Sorry, Dean.
Yeah, the ideas around the social media and the posting photographs and so forth, I think are great. I'm also aware that most of the people that I hang out with have been around for 6 decades or longer. Some of them have Facebook accounts, but they don't spend a lot of time on social media. And so I'm wondering what we might do that tries to reach out to sort of that demographic, whether it's trying to get an article in the Tavistock Wilmot Gazette or an ad, or you know, what can we do? What can encourage the township to do that isn't reliant on solely on social media for public awareness raising?
I like that.
Yeah, I would add that's a very good point. And we are going through a communication strategy too. So, and that'll address, you know, gaps like that you mentioned, but I think point taken, and that I made the note. So we'll certainly pass it on to Dana to figure out ways to communicate to that demographic.
It could be something that's easy for people to print off, like the information desk, that kind of stuff, and that you take it if you have community events that's relevant to an actual printout. You could put a little QR code on something. I just came back from Europe and they use QR code for everything there, like literally everything. If you don't know how to use a QR code, you can't get on a bus, you can't order in a restaurant. It's literally everything.
Yeah, but my neighbors don't do QR codes.
Understood. But what I'm saying is, like, if we had something with QR codes and then we had a PDF that could be printed and brought, it fits both demographics.
Jen.
So a couple things. I can give you a whole rundown on produce packaging, why it's there, why, you know, what's necessary. I can assure you that farmers don't want to have to spend money on packaging. Cucumbers are wrapped in plastic because otherwise they get soft, they lose their moisture, and nobody wants a rubbery English cucumber. It's not really appetizing. There is, however, a revolutionary new thing that is happening. There's a coating they've developed that's basically beeswax. So it's edible, compostable film that gets applied, and it removes the need for plastic. So there are a lot of revolutions that are coming in packaging specifically for food, but there hasn't been a push that in the way that's needed, and that's why it's taken so long. It's also difficult, you know, because there's a lot of legislation around not even being able to reuse packaging for food. So that's a whole thing. We could spend like the rest of the day talking about it, but anybody who's interested in specific things, I can give you answers on those. That's, you know, my wheelhouse. I love the idea of, Dean, I 100% agree with you. When we get into QR codes and things, they're great for a certain demographic, but they exclude a very significant portion of the population. And if we're wanting to actually be inclusive of everyone in our community, we need to ensure that we have multiple streams of communication. That's really, really important. And yes, you know, 100% we should be using QR codes for the demographic that understands and you know is familiar with them and uses them easily, but we need to have them accessed, being able to be accessed other ways as well. And I would love to see us sending out a media release on Zero Waste Month. I think that would be fantastic, because we send that out to all of the local papers, the Record, the Gazette. I think we've passed the deadline. No, we haven't, for October for the Baden Outlook. I'm sure Barry would be happy to have a story about it in there. The Independent, of course, I mean, the Record and the Independent. Anyways, you guys don't need me to tell you all the outlets, but but I do really, really think that we need to be working at capturing a more diverse audience with our communication.
Okay, well, was there one that I think, did you want to go with the Reap Green Solution Zero Waste Month Challenge, or would you like to go with this sort of trash audit tracker habit thing? Thinking that if I need to get a media release ready, I should have a decision on that. I don't know when I need to get that done. Guess we have to make a decision before October anyway. I don't know. What do you want to do? Does it matter? No.
Okay, nobody's speaking up. I'll say I think the trash audit, because what we can do, that's something we create, right? And that's it increases the number of connection points for people. And I think that it is, like, you know, like Tova said, sort of weaving together, it doesn't detract from what Reap Green is doing, and we can still share Reap Green's posts, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we can amplify what they're doing and do our own thing too.
Dean.
Oh, you're muted, Dean.
Oh, no, I can hear him.
You're good, Dean.
Yeah. I was saying I like the trash audit also. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
But a little bit, as Jen was saying, does it have to be an either or? I mean, can we
No.
help to promote both?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what I'm thinking actually is I will put together kind of like a calendar, but kind of how I expect the sort of October to go. And then I'll send it all out to you, and you can decide whether or not it's too much, too little. And then we'll get sort of an agreement on that. And then I will create the media release that kind of explains it. But I think the more things we have to chat, like to put out to people, like Reap, there's other ones that are going on. Like there's some interesting recycling programs that Reap's doing as well, with bottle caps making into benches, things like that. I think are super important. But typically every month or every October, Zero Waste Month, I send out, it was only to staff here, just a weekly kind of article on a zero waste topic. So I can do the same. I won't be able to do it in paper, but it could go out on like Facebook or Twitter as well. So yeah.
I was going to mention too, yeah, like a good idea in as far as like give us a draft so we've got a base to go from. But Tova, is there anything from Waterloo Sustainability that is a boilerplate that we can kind of plagiarize, I guess? From that?
Well, we have like a whole waste tracking methodology for organizations, but I think it's probably bigger. And we have both diversion and total waste reduction. That's actually a big conversation in the waste world, is whether you do diversion or you do waste reduction. And there's pros and cons of each, actually, which is really interesting depending on the situation. And so the things with like the REAP challenge is in many ways a diversion challenge, trying to get people to recycle and compost and keep the amount that they have in their waste stream as low as possible. And then there's total waste reduction. I don't know that there's anything that's super boilerplate that we could use because it's organizational, and the target of this is more residential individuals.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm happy to look at it and give suggestions, both with my sustainability mindset, but also I used to be VP of a marketing agency, so I could help with that if that's helpful.
Awesome. One of the things I was the process I had was that I think that the township, like admin complex, could be doing better job of like zero waste as well, like working towards. And so I had thought about a challenge specifically for the admin complex, but I think it would be a good idea to send what you're talking about for organizations and municipalities, because I think we could be doing a better job. So I would like to read that. So that'd be great. Thank you. Dean.
This is something I was going to maybe wait to bring up until after the election and so forth. But since we're talking about reduction and diversion, one of the things that I find strange is that we don't have sort of recycling collection stuff throughout township facilities, at our parks, even at the rec center. There's no, unless something has changed in the very recent, since I checked, there's no place to throw your Pepsi can into a recycling bin at the Wilmot Recreation Complex. I just find that strange. I know it costs us money to do it, but come on, folks.
I see Bruce isn't on the call today to answer that one. I thought there was recycling at the WRC, but again, I can't confirm that. I don't work out of that location, but I've made the note, and I can certainly circle back with the director over there and provide that comment.
It's possible to change something in the last couple of months, but it wasn't until fairly recent anyway.
Okay.
John?
Leslie, well, you mentioned about the admin complex there too, and I was going to say it's kind of Dean kind of gave the segue to it there, but can we extend that to the rec complex and to the community centers and so forth too? To how can we divert? How can we reduce in those facilities as well? Lead by example, I guess, right?
Yeah. Didn't we talk about this like early on in our?
I think we may have, yeah.
In our committees, and it had to do with like not that there wasn't a program through the region for us.
There was something, because I remember about reducing the use of plastic cutlery and things like that, I think is one of the things and so forth.
Yeah, it was multifaceted. It was the one was for the rentals for community groups that use the community centers, like education behind how to when they're having a birthday party, as an example, materials that they would bring. And then the green bins was another topic of discussion. So I think the WRC does have green bins now through our subcontractor, and then same thing here at the administration complex. And I can't recall if that was extended to the community centers with respect to green bin collection. I don't have an answer for that piece, but I know for sure our admin complex, we have green bins now since probably just 2020, I want to say. So Go ahead, Leslie.
And didn't we, I think Dean was also talking about like when you're in a park, being able to recycle
Yeah.
Because I think that we were talking about putting it down on downtown New Hamburg, and I don't remember the whole story, but like basically we couldn't do it because of not the ability to recycle. We didn't have the ability to recycle them for some reason. And I just cannot remember the conversation, but there was an issue. Maybe Jen, there's a hands up, she knows. I don't remember what the story was.
Yeah, so in downtown New Hamburg, the waste collection bins are kind of a Board of Trade project. And that was something that I was talking to the Board of Trade about, changing, but put that on hold because during the pandemic, businesses were really strapped and not really in a place to have capacity to take on new projects and new things. So a lot of the early conversations that we had before Dean joined, a significant number of ideas and things that we had wanted to work on as a committee got sidelined by the pandemic and the realities we've lived with for the last 2.5 years. So now that, things are sort of, I'm not going to say back to normal, but stabilizing, and we kind of have an idea of what we're doing, I hope that we can reignite some of those conversations and get some of those ideas moving forward, because I think they had a lot of merit, just unfortunate timing.
I'm going to just make a note for when I do the meeting minutes for next time that I believe Dean last time asked about doing like a kind of a work plan or like a kind of a calendar or project kind of based thing for the year. So I'm going to make that as an action item. So I just remember that right now. I'm just going to make that comment. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, so if we're done on the zero waste month, we can kind of transition to the next item, and that's pretty much directly related to what you're saying, the calendars and things like that. So as we begin to look, as the elections are in fall, so that as we know that the committee term will expire as part with it, we can look at suggestions that we can place, that Leslie can place on a calendar, and then that would be passed on to the next committee for their consideration as we move forward. So I'll open up the conversation, and I know first one that always comes to mind is Earth Day, and that's one that's we had great success as far as the community cleanup goes and education, but it certainly can be enhanced and expanded upon as we move forward with further planning and everything like that. So that would be one I would put on as far as consideration for the upcoming committee, and I'll open up the floor to discussion as far as things that we should ensure are kind of documented and passed along.
I was thinking that we haven't looked at that Excel tracker that we had before, but all the projects we were thinking about doing. So maybe for the next meeting that we bring that back and kind of just get an update, and then what can we be doing in order to achieve the goals that we have set out for the township with the Transform WR stuff. So I think because that's just kind of in the future, but we should be trying to do something every year to get us closer to that. So
yeah, so definitely I would say, well, in addition to Transform WR, tracking is definitely a major one too that has to stay on the work program for sure. Dean, you have your hand up?
Yeah, in the spring, I had brought forward this idea of a giveaway weekend or a free weekend. And I know that there was some initial follow-up done with the region on that in terms of waste management folks. I don't know sort of where that's at, but I would just sort of offer that as a sort of bring forward item to follow up on.
I'm just going to update Dean. I believe that you weren't there at the meeting where we talked about it. Basically, the region is down for it. Had some stipulations about when you could put the stuff out and then when it had to come back in. But that they were like super pumped for it, and that we should, like, whatever weeks we do it, we should let them know so that they could advertise it themselves. And so basically we're ready to go whenever somebody wants to take it on. I think at the time I said I couldn't do it. I might be able to do it in the spring, and I think you said that as well. And I wasn't sure if you had wanted to do just one or two of them.
I'd be willing, I'd volunteer to put some work into organizing something for the spring.
Perfect. Excellent.
All right. Any other suggestions? Councillor Penning?
So I think just to quickly add to the giveaway week, it might be if we're putting together a calendar to suggest if Dean's gonna be willing to put some work into it for the spring, perhaps we could have a second one in the fall. Once it's set up, I would imagine that doing it twice a year would both be useful and not a huge amount of extra work.
Okay. I'm just looking through our list from our old work program, and I'm not seeing anything. We had like rain gardens, paper towel usage. I think we kind of addressed that in a way, but there's nothing else that I can see historically what we've spoken about that either hasn't been addressed. But yeah, Leslie.
I think with the rain garden, didn't we talk about doing it at the admin complex when the parking lot is going to be redone? Is that still a go? Is it still like on the, minds of people who are doing that project?
So I can't absolutely say for certainty. I know the design, the work, the drawings are in process, and I think the tender was actually posted. And I don't want to confirm it because I don't want to give a wrong answer, but to my understanding, sorry, I'm kind of answering the question, but I would defer that to the director, and then they can provide that answer. But yeah, but yes, you're correct. It was supposed to be considered as part of our parking lot reconstruction here at the event complex. Councillor Fennick.
So maybe we could check in with her. I guess we can't check in with her right now. She's on holidays, but
I will confirm with the project manager, and then I'll circulate the answer back to the committee. I'll make that as an action item.
It might bear inclusion in the final report. I haven't had a chance to read the report. I sort of very briefly, scrolled quickly through this morning. And maybe that's something we could sort of put as a take forward to consider in the next term for this committee to consider where other opportunities for that type of project might happen and learnings from it. I know, and I've been debating whether or not to mention this, but I know that there is a project involving menstrual products at the WRC. I'm sort of scanning around to see if anybody else knows what I'm talking about. But I had heard from the director that there was a project starting. And so I think that would be something to follow up with her on when she's back and, look at lessons from it and where it could be rolled out for other facilities in the township.
Okay. Right. Anything else that we should make note of? Okay, seeing none. So Leslie and I will go back and can't spend any, just your hand still up for a different thing.
I just didn't want to hog the mic if other people can speak. I think that, you know, one of the things we had talked about that we didn't really, that really got stymied by the pandemic was we were talking about a guide for users of the facilities on waste reduction and sort of some parameters, including some parameters and education pieces in that. And obviously during the pandemic, with all of the events shut down and all of the facilities shut down, that kind of didn't move forward because there was no one to give it to. But it'd be good to pick that up again and move it forward for events happening in our facilities.
Excellent. Okay. Anything else? Okay. All right, so that's that for that agenda item then. So that brings us to, there's no information to be shared, and we'll go to round table. So we'll start off with Leslie.
I'm not sure if this is like a information to be shared or a roundtable, but in my research for Zero Waste Month, I came upon a event that I thought people might be interested in. Now, this movie's been out, or documentary's been out for a while. I didn't realize that, but the Waterloo Public Library is hosting a viewing and question and answer period with Reap Green Solutions and I think Waterloo Pollinators on September 22nd from I think 6:30 or 6 to 8. 8:30. So it's just a documentary on the critical importance of planting native plants for survival and vitality of local ecosystems. So if you'd like to check that out, you still have time to sign up. There's still space. So.
All right, so I won't go around my screen, but anybody else, just throw up your hand. And Tova?
We have a whole bunch of events coming up. And I just wanted to share them. And actually I was going to our website to take a look so I wouldn't give you the wrong information. So we've got a sustainable commuting event coming up. And we actually have people coming from the Netherlands to speak at that one, and it'll be fully online. So that'll be really interesting. We've got an event on the UN Sustainable Development Goals coming, and that's going to have researchers and businesses that work on it. And actually, Barry Verbanovic, the mayor of Kitchener, is going to be speaking on it because he's done a lot of work with the UN on the UN SDGs. And then the last one, we have one on equity, diversity, and inclusion, and how to actually do that in an organization. That's happening in October. Just a second, I'm going to the link. If you go to the sustainablewr.ca and go into /events, they're all there and you can register for them. So the UN Sustainable Development Goals one is live now. But the one is happening, I know, in October. There's 2 in October. And then we're also working on a EV test drive event with a number of companies at our office in the Evolve One building. And there's a few very cool things we're looking to have there. Some electric micromobility, buses, autonomous delivery services, even maybe. So watch for that one too, and that'll be in October as well. So just please keep your eyes on our website to try to get to some of those events.
All right. Thank you, Tova.
No problem.
Councillor Fenning?
Well, I was waiting for Dean to put his hand up because I just registered for 3 tree planting events in October. And I'm super excited to get my shovel out and dig some trees in this fall. But I'm sure Dean can give you a lot more information about that. I also wanted to say that I was talking to a member of the community who had all kinds of things and wanted to know why we weren't doing this, that, and the other thing for sustainability. And I said, well, there's an election, means there's a spot going to be up for grabs on the sustainability committee. And I would love to see you apply and possibly bring some of those ideas to the table. So maybe everything from energy and so on, PV on various roofs, and really, really interesting and great ideas. I also was in Ottawa and had a chance to try one of the scooters. so, you know, talking about sustainable commuting and getting around community. My nephew actually has a scooter that he uses. He has a big pickup truck, and he bought himself a scooter, an e-scooter, because of the cost of gas. And so now he uses that e-scooter to do, you know, small local trips, and says it doesn't cost him much more time, and obviously it's a lot cheaper. So maybe we can also look at where would it be feasible? Would it be feasible at all to have some sort of a rental scooter program? Maybe that's, you know, a ways off for us, but just was an interesting thing I participated in.
Can I just pop in because I want to comment on what Jen was just saying? I literally just like Monday at 10:30 at night got home from some time in Europe, and e-scooters and e-bike sharing, micromobility, electric micromobility is everywhere, and it is everybody using it, young, old, everybody. And in Paris, every street I saw was half cars, half active transportation. They've taken half of the car infrastructure away, and everybody is riding these e-scooters and bicycles and bike share and walking. It was pretty incredible to see. So it's not just Amsterdam anymore when we think about cycling and using that kind of stuff. It is literally everywhere. And it's just on an app. So Canada is far behind. It's a QR code, Dean. Couldn't have done it if I couldn't use a QR code. But it like you literally just scan it and go ride. It was really interesting to see. And I was in 5 different countries, and it was in all of them. So we are far, far behind on that one. I just thought you'd find that interesting.
Thanks, Evelyn. Dean, go ahead.
Yes, Tova, I may be old, but I do have a Lime app on my phone, and I have used the e-scooters in Europe, and they're great. They're fun.
It's so fun, right?
Yeah, and thank you, Jen, for the segue. Yes, Let's Tree Wilmot has tree planting events scheduled on Saturdays this fall in St. Agatha, Mannheim, and at the rec complex on October 1, 15, and 29. And if you go to letstreewilmot.ca, you'll get the information, and you can sign up, as Jen has already done. Thank you.
Thanks, Dean. Anybody else? Okay, so that brings us to the end of the meeting. And I think we'll probably most likely not, due to the elections, there's a meeting that we typically have once a month, right? But it falls in kind of almost the middle of October. So that's the middle of the election. So this will perhaps probably be the committee's last meeting. And I just wanted to thank everybody for their participation throughout this term. It's been fantastic, and thanks, you know, both staff and community members, and Tova and Councillor Fenning for your participation on the committee. John, you have your hand up?
Yeah, just going forward then, obviously we have to look at the committee reforming, I guess, after the election and so forth. What's the process on that? Like, are we looking at keeping current committee members, or how does that work going forward, I guess? Or does everybody have to apply again then, or how does that work?
So I would imagine that the new term of council will have to reappoint the community members that are on the board, and also the councillor. I guess there would have to be a consensus of who would sit on the committee. And yeah, that'll be up to the next term of council. So
just I guess we're in suspense now until the new term of council, then to have the new committee, right? So this is basically our last meeting. Okay, right. Just want to reiterate that. Okay, so I understood. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So when do you expect then the next meeting to be then of the new term?
That's a good question, and I'd probably have to direct that to the clerk. You know, I'm unfortunately I don't have an answer for that, but again, there would have to be the are we looking
into like the new year? Is that like basically where we're at?
I'm not sure how, to be honest, this is my first time going around. I don't have all the details, but it would be because we've never had a sustainability working group before, and I'm not too familiar with the other committees that were all in existence before this term of council. So sorry, I don't have an answer on that process.
Okay.
Councillor Fenning?
I just want to say thank you to everybody. I know, like you said, Ashton, this is the first term that this committee has existed. So I want to extend a thanks to all of you as staff for being willing to take this on. It was one of the first things I did as a counselor was bring a motion to make what had been the working group, internal working group, into a committee of council. And it was really literally because I wanted to participate in the conversation and try to, offer my whatever I have to offer to this committee. And that's why I brought that motion. And it has been a really fulfilling and wonderful conversation. And I feel really good about a lot of things that we've been able to accomplish. And I've been really enjoying working with all of you and being able to engage in this. So thank you. And to Dean and John and the members that have previously quit, thank you. Thank you for coming to this table and participating and offering your service to our community in this way. I really appreciate it. And it's been a pleasure. And we'll see, maybe I'll apply to be on the committee again. And I want to say thanks, even though they're not here, to my colleagues on council for seeing fit to approve that motion and appoint me to this committee. So I'm really grateful.
Thank you, Councillor Manning.
I think we've done pretty well for the first term, brand new out of the chute. I think we've got a lot on the table and getting a lot going forward. So I think we've done pretty well. Pat yourselves all on the back.
Okay, any other further comments, questions?
Just to say it's been fun. Thank you all.
All right. Okay, well, thank you, everybody. All right, and we'll have a motion to adjourn. Moved by Dean. All right, thank you all. Have a great day.
Right now.
Bye now.